Floyd Patterson was born on January the 4th, 1935 in North Carolina. He was one of 11 children and he lived in a poor family. They moved to Brooklyn, New York, where Patterson was skipping school and a petty thief. At 10 years old he was sent to a reform school. Floyd Patterson took up boxing at age 14 and was soon spotted by Cus D'Amato and trained at the Gramercy gym.
With me, the guy comes to me with a spark. I fan the spark until it becomes a flame. I feed the flame until it becomes a fire. Then I feed the fire until it becomes a roaring blaze. That's what I have to do.
Under his tutelage, Patterson learned the unique peekaboo style, a pressure fighting style developed by Cus, and it was hard to master. A typical move of this peekaboo style is weaving from side to side like a pendulum in the tight guard where the gloves rest on the fighter's cheekbones. A style that tries to be offensive and defensive at the same time, and therefore perfect for entertainment.
My defense was as good as my offense. I got hit, but not half as much as some of the guys, or 1/10 as much as some of the guys I've seen.
Later Floyd would be somewhat critical of the original peekaboo style, saying something along the lines of, he is teaching these kids to be robots, and so he had his own version of it, where he would also box on the back foot and use his hands to parry. Patterson had many physical talents, like the fastest hand speed of any heavyweight, and maybe even light heavyweight, but Cus D'Amato had a lot of work to do with Patterson's mentality, turning his fear into ferocity. He had low self-esteem and he was very shy and too much of a nice guy. Cus instilled more confidence in him, but his lack of meanness and killer instinct were a problem throughout Patterson's career. His personality was a nice, soft-spoken gentleman, and therefore his nickname, the Gentleman of Boxing.
Being afraid is a very normal, healthy thing. If an individual were not afraid, I would have to send them to a psychiatrist to find out what was wrong. Nature gave us fear in order to survive. And of course, fear is our best friend. Without fear, we would all die. We'd do something foolish or stupid, which would cause our death or being crippled. But also, fear is something which has to be controlled. I always compare it to fire. Fear, like fire, must be controlled. And once it gets out of control, like fire, it can destroy everything around you. Not only the individual, but everything around you. But once you control fear like fire, you could make it work for you. Without fire, we wouldn't have the civilization we now recognize today. But the fighter who controls his fear can now function in a manner far over and beyond anything he was capable of before. Fear is your friend, and nature gave us fear in order for us to survive.
Floyd Patterson finishes his amateur career with a record of 40 wins, 4 losses with 37 KOs. Between 1951 and 52, he had won 6 major amateur titles at both middleweight and light heavyweight. But the highlight of his amateur career was when Patterson won the Olympic gold medal in the middleweight division at the 1952 Olympics in Helsinki, Finland.
For the Romanian, I believe his name was Vasili Tita.
This is that final fight which you had in Helsinki in the Olympic Games.
Yes, I had had 3 fights at this point, and my opponent also had 3. and this was the finals. The first one I had won by a decision, and the next two were knockouts, and also this one. When the referee reached 10, I knew that I was the amateur champion of the world and I had won the Olympics. I felt very proud. This is when we received the medal. I was told to bow to the crowd. I think that's how they do it in foreign countries.
His gold medal was easily won with a first round KO over Romanian Vasili Tita. Less than a month after the Olympics, Patterson fought his first professional fight at middleweight against Eddie Gottbold and knocked him out in 4 rounds. His amateur style and his nervousness could be seen. I couldn't find many of his earlier fights, but I have found his third fight as a professional against Lester Jackson. Floyd Patterson quickly outgrew the middleweight limit and fought as a light heavyweight. On the 13th of April 1953, he fought light heavyweight Dick Wagner, who proved to be his first tough opponent. Patterson got tested in this fight. Wagner's strategy was to throw body punches to tire Patterson, corner and pummel him, maul him in the clinches and then knock him out. In round 4, Wagner had success beating Patterson to the body. Patterson remembers, "Beating my belly like a drum. How I survived that beating, I will never know." After the 4th round, Cus D'Amato yelled at him, "You want to be a champion? Well then start fighting like one." Wagner continues his strategy, but Patterson moved and boxed, darting in and out, landing enough punches to maintain a slight advantage with the judges, winning a split decision. He later recalled, "He beat my body so bad, I was urinating blood for days." 8 months later, they fought again. This time Patterson stopped Wagner in 5 rounds and sent him into retirement. Floyd then fought Jovan Dorel, who will later go on to have a famous fight with Archie. The Associated Press reported, "Undefeated Floyd Patterson punched out a unanimous 8-round decision over durable Jovan Dorel of Canada at Eastern Parkway Arena last night. It was a clear-cut win for the Brooklyn native, but he was far from impressive. Patterson, 19, missed as often as he connected and twice fell to the canvas after swinging at the air. Rusty after a 2-month layoff, Patterson staggered the former Canadian light heavyweight champion several times, but he couldn't drop him. In his 10th bout, Patterson faced Alvin Williams. He hurt Williams in the 7th round and he won the full 8 rounds. After 3 more victories, the 19-year-old Floyd Patterson in his 13th professional bout stepped up his competition and he fights former light heavyweight champion Maxim. In the Eastern Parkway Arena in Brooklyn, Maxim lost his last fight, which was his 3rd fight against Archie in 1954 and his title in 1953, also against Moore. Floyd fought in spurts. When Patterson attacked, he threw fast combination and Maxim had some success with his jab. Most people think Patterson did enough to win, and Maxim's greater fame at the time helped to sway the judges, but after 8 rounds of action, Maxim was announced as the winner in a very controversial, unanimous decision. In my opinion, this fight was a robbery, and Patterson was very hard done by. The Associated Press wrote, "Floyd Patterson, the 19-year-old Olympic graduate, won a newspaper decision over Maxim last night, but the KG ex-light heavyweight champion grabbed the verdict that counts. A unanimous, if unpopular vote by the 3 official judges, a poll of 11 boxing writers ringside, was unanimous for Patterson over this 32-year-old opponent. Patterson, using a spectacular leaping right hand lead, battered Maxim in the 6th, staggering him twice. Joey fought back gamely under bursts of fire, grabbing when in danger. Another problem showed itself when Patterson got dropped in the 1st round in his next fight against Frenchman
Jacques Roya.
Patterson got up and the bout was stopped in the 7th round, when he stopped the Frenchman with a bad cut over his right eye. His next fight was against Tommy Harrison. Patterson batters him and stopped him in 1 round. Patterson won his next 2 fights, Esau Ferdinand and Joe Gannon. Both were scheduled for 8 rounds and Patterson won by unanimous decision. Then Floyd Patterson fought Jimmy Slade, November 1954. This fight was recorded. Patterson had Slade down twice in the first, as well as once in the second, third and in the 8th. Slade's purse was held by the commission, which accused him of running away for most of the bout. Slade and Patterson were actually quite close friends before the fight. Patterson fought around the light heavyweight limit for much of his early career. He and his manager and trainer, Cus D'Amato, had planned to fight for the heavyweight championship. In 1954, Cus told the press about the aspirations to win the heavyweight championship. His next fight, Floyd Patterson vs Willie in 1955. Madison Square Garden was packed. Patterson came out fast in the first round. Floyd battered him badly, since after the first round the sting was gone from Troy's punches, overwhelming him. Everybody witnessing it felt that he can go to the top level. Talks of this contender Floyd Patterson could one day fight Marciano spread, so Marciano sat ringside at this fight doing some media press work and also looking to spot some weaknesses in Patterson's style, and he made a find. Patterson's right hand didn't guard him enough, but Floyd was so quick and a fighter like Troy couldn't exploit it. Marciano talking.
I keep looking for the weak spot in Patterson's style, but all he does is punch. Just have to keep slugging with this guy. Here's where Floyd shows he needs a lot of improvement. He's wild, he isn't unbalanced to punch. There's his kangaroo punch, and that's real amateur stuff. Right now, Patterson is wasting his speed. I never could understand why a fighter moves around without a reason. The whole idea is to hit the other guy and win, not kill time. He just doesn't seem strong on the inside, and while Floyd punches quickly from this peekaboo style, he doesn't seem to get real knockout power.
Patterson picks up the pace in the 5th round and is looking to finish it, but Troy doesn't fall. The referee stopped the bout after the 5th round on advice of the ring doctor, and Patterson can celebrate his 19th victory. On the 17th of January, only 10 days after his fight against Troy, he challenges Don Grant. Cus D'Amato is looking to keep his protege busy. He believed in fighting regularly. Contrast that with the modern fighter who fights twice a year and once or not at all during COVID. Patterson's team was against this fight. They didn't think he could beat Grant, but Cus insisted that Patterson will win. Nobody had as much faith in Patterson's ability as Cus, a Cus D'Amato method to instill faith in his fighters.
The physical part of boxing is so minor that most people would never believe it or accept it, because in my opinion, the mind and emotions are about 75% of boxing.
Floyd Patterson in the white trunks against Don Grant. Grant is hurt. He's in real trouble. Won't stay up much longer. Try to stay inside. Grant now has large swelling areas above both eyes. Barney Felix, the referee, is examining Grant closely, considering, I'm sure, stepping in. Grant has very little left now, very little.
Again, Patterson's hand speed and punch placement led to another beating. Patterson also beautifully sets up his final assault. Attacking donk ground to the body, he is throwing a left to the body, before switching upstairs with a left that caught Grant off guard. A final flurry leads to another knockdown and the ref has seen enough. He then fights Esau Ferdinand again, this time dropping him in the 7th round and getting a TKO victory in the 10th and last round. Next fight was against Yvonne Durrell, where Patterson battered him at will and Durrell retired and didn't come out for the 6th. On the 6th of July 1955, in Madison Square Garden, Patterson had a scheduled 10-rounder against the heavyweight Archie McBride. This was Patterson's first outing against the heavyweight. Archie McBride had a record of 27 wins and 9 losses and won his last fight against Bob Satterfield, but he lost 4 out of his last 6 fights. McBride was 16 pounds heavier. But the lighter weight of Patterson proved to be a great advantage. He could overwhelm McBride with his punches and bunches, countering with overhand rights and lefts on the outside and quick combinations on the inside. Patterson also showed that his punching power can be a threat to a heavyweight, and that quickness will be an advantage against a much slower competition. He also showed more viciousness in this fight, a trait that the smaller Patterson will need to survive at heavyweight. This was another great performance by Floyd Patterson, and after the fight, he and his team once again called out Rocky Marciano. On the 21st of September 1955, Rocky Marciano beats Archie Moore in his last title defense, and after the fight, Marciano said, "There's a lot of pressure from my family to retire. My mother wants me to quit, and so does my dad and my wife. Personally, at this point, I don't think I should retire." However, on April the 27th, 1956, Rocky announced his retirement as World Heavyweight Champion.
I would like to announce my retirement from boxing at this time.
At the same time, a young 20-year-old Floyd Patterson rises slowly but with precision through the ranks, with now 6 more victories at heavyweight. It has to be said that Cus was good at matchmaking. Most of the time he would only allow his fighters to fight someone he thinks they can beat. He also wouldn't cooperate with the established boxing authorities that would run most of the boxing during Cus D'Amato's lifetime. The International Boxing Club, the IBC, was in charge of the 1950s crime-ridden boxing industry. Cus D'Amato stood personally at odds with this alleged racketeering organization and was instrumental in breaking its hold on the sport. Suspicious to the point of paranoia, he refused to match his fighters in any bout promoted by the IBC. This led to him and his fighters being exiled from high-level world title bouts in Madison Square Garden. The prizefight market was opening up to found fight venues outside of Madison Square Garden, where the boxing monopoly at the time was concentrated in the late 1950s. New York City supposedly withdrew D'Amato's manager license due to his links with well-known underground characters, maybe as a reprisal for his critical stance toward the criminal underworld. In 1959 he successfully petitioned to have the license reinstated. The IPC was eventually found to be in violation of the antitrust laws and was dissolved, with financial backing from his two associates in Jim Jacobs and Bill Caton. Cus D'Amato could establish a new gym in Catskill, upstate New York. Jim Norris of the International Boxing Club stated, Patterson was one out of the 6 fighters who would take part in an elimination tournament to crown Marciano's successor. The Ring magazine then moved Patterson into the heavyweight rankings at number 5. In a world title eliminator, Floyd Patterson gets his big chance to fight the number 2 rated challenger, 27 wins, 4 losses and 1 draw, Tommy Hurricane Jackson in Madison Square Garden. The winner of this bout was to face Archie Moore in the world heavyweight title left vacant by the retired Rocky Marciano. Many observers were quick to pick Patterson by KO over the ungainly and often off-balance Jackson. Many were fascinated that someone like Jackson, who has many technical deficiencies like often punching with an unclosed fist, could bring himself into a position to be ranked only one spot after Archie Moore. Those who fought him and lose say he punched hard. And they aren't nobodies. Bob Baker, ranked number 3, and J.R.S, who even though long over the hill is still an ex-champion. There's a theory that Hurricane Jackson has been able to climb the rankings because of his matchless stamina, a gift both nature and his devotion to training. What do you do for relaxation? Work. Hurricane always answers delightfully. Tommy Jackson's personality is more extroverted and quicker to change moods. It seems to be the opposite of Patterson's. In the run-up to this fight, the longtime trainer, Dan Florio, interestingly noticed the reappearance of an old Patterson's flaw which, in Floyd's early days, came to be known as the gazelle punch. It is a straight right or left hook delivered on top of a leap that brings him close to his opponent. Florio has been trying to eliminate it and for a while succeeded. Lately this crack in an otherwise firm foundation has begun to show again. Florio argues with Floyd that he is off balance when the punch lands, but Floyd insists that he's not. Jackson does best against straight up fighters. Therefore he struggled against the bobbing and weaving target that is Floyd Patterson. Patterson had Tommy in trouble from rapid fire left hooks and leaping right hand leads in the 8th and the 12th round. Although the Hurricane stalked after the smaller Patterson every round, Tommy almost hit the deck in all of these rounds, but came very close in the 4th and 12th, but he continued the fight, to fight back persistently. His best round were the 7th and the 9th. Patterson won, but his triumph was tarnished slightly by a strange split decision, surprising most fans and riders at ringside. Referee Harry Kessler favored Tommy Hurricane Jackson. After the fight it was revealed Patterson had broken the 4th metacarpal of his right hand. Floyd said that Jackson is a tough man. Now I can go 15 rounds if I want, if I have to, because I wasn't tired after 12, even though I landed more punches than I ever threw in my life.
How soon will the doctors know definitely whether you're going to be able to fight in September?
About in 4 or 5 weeks.
The fight is still definitely scheduled with Archie Moore for the heavyweight championship, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Well, now, do you think that with the injury you're going to be able to be in good enough condition to fight otherwise?
Yes, I'll be doing everything else except boxing, and it'll only take me to get into good shape about 2 or 3 weeks of boxing.
Well, some of the writers are saying that you're not ready for more. What do you think of that?
Well, my manager thinks I am. If he does, I do too.
I will try to match Archie Moore and Floyd Patterson for a 15-round fight in September, and I will try to have it recognized by all the boxing organizations as a fight for the title left vacant by Rocky Marciano's retirement, said promoter Jim Norris. Tommy Hurricane Jackson, bitter after his loss, This boy is not as tough as Bob Baker or Dan Baccaroni. If he fights more in September, Archie will kill him. Before the fight against Archie Moore, Cus had Floyd watching and studying the film of the Rocky Marciano victory over Moore. Cus wondered that Floyd repeatedly seized the knockdown in the second round, where Marciano leads with his right hand, is off balance, and in return gets countered with Archie's right hand. Cus's intention was that Floyd would find out what he had to be wary against Moore, especially throwing the right hand lead. So rather than pecking at Moore and allowing him to work as he wanted, Florio and Cus devised a strategy to keep the pace steady and rob the old mongoose of an opportunity to keep going offensively.
This age for the heavyweight crown. Floyd Patterson is the youth. The scrappy newcomer with many a ring victory to his credit is in his early 20s. Most of his bouts have been in the light heavy class. Now he's getting in shape for a crack at the title vacated by Rocky Marciano. It's up for grabs and Floyd is good, but Archie Moore will be favored. The one-time light heavyweight champ who was one of Marciano's victims is Mr. Age in this David and Goliath match. Patterson was 2 years old when Moore fought his first fight. Archie's been around and he's confident that youth will not beard the lion in his den.
Now Patterson faces the former light heavyweight champion Archie Moore on the 13th of November 1956 in the Chicago Stadium. The old mongoose versus the young and up-and-coming Patterson. If the 39-year-old Moore wins, he would become the oldest world heavyweight champion at the time. If Patterson, aged 21, he would become the youngest heavyweight champion. Previously the youngest champion had been Joe Louis, who at 23 took the title from Jim Braddock in 1937. Even though Archie Moore was ancient, he was very experienced, and many believed that he could beat the at world level inexperienced Patterson. Therefore he was a 9-5 betting favorite. Moore was up on his old tricks. He would lean and sway to one side, trying to goad his opponent into committing into a punch that he can counter. He did well in round 1 at times, but Patterson fought with his gloves high. Much of his offense and defense predicated on benching his waist, weaving past Moore's punches. A slower round 1, untypical of Patterson, and Moore looks partially confused. The game plan of Team Patterson is working so far.
Patterson, only 21, wants to wear down the older Archie. Look at that weave.
By the end of the second round, Patterson had gained control of the fight.
He has no nerves at all, just like the great Louis, poker-faced. Moore didn't worry him. Moore gets Patterson on the inside. Moore knows how to fight on the ropes. He gave me trouble last year, but Patterson is all over him. And instead of going wild and throwing to the head, he's sinking good right hands to the side. Floyd slipping punches. Patterson has much more sting in his punches here because of his footwork. Keeps himself balanced, power at all times.
Patterson hurt him with a body shot and opened a gash on Moore's left eyebrow in the third round.
Here comes Archie, and I know just what they told him in this one. Do something about this kid right now. He's getting too far ahead of you, and you gotta rough him up fast. Patterson keeps pressing more. He's making Archie fight at all times. This older guy would like to pace himself a little. Patterson keeps mixing up his moves. He is never trying the same thing twice. Now Floyd is still looking for that opening. There. A terrific left hook, drops more. What a shot.
A gazelle left hook from Patterson put Moore down. He takes the count but finds himself down again. Patterson and Cus D'Amato celebrate the achievement of their goal, while Archie Moore stands there wondering what just happened to him. After the bout, the reporter tells Patterson that he has become the father of a little girl. As Seneca Patterson, his team and wife kept the secret as not to distract him from his task at hand. Skipping out on his victory party, Patterson goes back to New York to go meet his daughter. Archie Moore later states, "I've lost so many fights, but never did I lose in such a sorry fashion as the night I fought Floyd Patterson. The referee shouldn't have stopped it. I felt Floyd Patterson is a vastly improved fighter. He has the potentialities of being a great fighter when he gets some experience. I felt confident I could beat him, but I also learned that youth can be too much, and I came up the long hard road, but when I got there, I found the door slammed shut." Patrick Connor writes, "After the biggest win of his career, Floyd Patterson said, I knew that tonight I was opposed by one of the smartest boxers and sharpest punchers in the business, but I never had any doubt about what I could do with him. He became an instant celebrity, appearing in commercials and on game shows, including What's My Line?
Is it a sport in which you have recently had a glorious triumph?"
Yes. Mr. Patterson.
Right.
And he also became the youngest ever heavyweight champion, beating the record of Joe Louis, who was 23 himself when he won the biggest title in sports. Thank you for watching. Share your opinions and thoughts in the comments below. You can find all my colorized footage and fights on my second boxing channel, Legends of Boxing in Color. I recently made many Henry Armstrong fights, Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Robinson fights that you can check out over there. If you wanna support my work, you can head on over to Patreon or take a look at my Red Bubble shop. Till next time, and take care.